worldwide war against crime, there are men and women trained to sink their own identity in the international underworld. They work alone, in danger and in shadow, unrecognized by friend and enemy alike. They are the operators of the almost legendary Ghost Squad.
Next to you, Mr. Morton.
Oh, thank you. I shall be away for a day or two, but keep my room.
(212) and 214.
Who was it?
I could have sworn it was Spencer Deeds.
Spencer Deeds? But he's dead.
Yes, I know.
I don't care who you thought you saw. You all right did see. If you tell me you walked into the Gazera Club and saw the late Aga Khan and the late Lord Lonsdale splitting a bottle, I still wouldn't care. You're in Cairo to do a job, not to follow up psychic hunches.
Spencer Deeds died in Egypt a week ago. This morning I saw him at Stewart's Hotel. It sounds crazy. It is crazy, but I'm positive it was Deeds.
You saw a man who looked different and sounded different, but who walked like Spencer Deeds. Is that evidence?
A walk is the hardest thing to disguise.
Sort of fingerprint. How often have you gone up to a man in a bar, slapped him on the back, and when he turned around, you didn't know him from Adam?
Not this one.
Miller, get this into your head. You are Jim Peters, bent agent of a bent diamond merchant, and Lomax is your secretary, and as long as you're in Cairo, remember that.
But listen, sir.
Even if you were right, I still wouldn't care. You've got a job to do. Do it, right?
Right, sir.
Good. Now, my opposite number in Cairo is a Major Mahmood. I don't know him well, but I think he'll be helpful. As long as you don't mention Suez. Let me have all the cuttings you've got on the Honourable Spencer Deeds, will you?
Better unscramble.
Hmm?
The phone, you better unscramble.
Oh, yes.
He wouldn't wear it.
No.
No, well, it's not easy to take. How well did you know Deeds?
I met him once, 10 years ago.
That's a long time.
I've been trained to use my memory.
And to take orders.
Now, look, Sally, it was Spencer Deeds walked out of that...
Oh, am I intruding?
You're Major Mahmood?
Mahmood. And you, of course, are Mr. Miller of Scotland Yard. Mr. Miller, I must apologize for his cupboard, his dog kennel, but I'm ashamed. I cannot find you better accommodation. You see, here in Egypt, everyone relies upon the police and nobody wants to pay for the comfort.
It's the same at home. Miss Sally Lomax.
Oh, Chanté.
How do you do?
She'll act as my contact with you and with London.
Oh, charming. Charming. Well, I'm very sad that I cannot do more to help in this matter, but this smuggling of stolen diamonds from South Africa to the West, what do you call it?
IDB.
IDB, yes.
Illicit diamond buying.
Well, it's been a thorn in my side for a long time, but you see, every time I try to get someone inside the organization, well, it's been discovered.
Yes, I can understand that.
You're very understanding. Well, all that we know is in this dossier, and it's not very much, I'm afraid. You see, we have here customs officers, or crooked messenger or two. They're all too well paid. They won't talk.
Anything about a man called Stone?
Stone? No, the name is not familiar to me. Why, who is he?
According to my information, he's IDB's #1 man in Egypt.
The top man, huh? And you're going to trap him, single-handed?
No, Major, with your cooperation.
Well, of course, if there's anything I can do.
Well, you can tell me where I can make contact with a man called Akbar.
Akbar? Akbar. Akbar. Akbar the Turk? Akbar the Turk, you see? The human filing cabinet. No, I'm afraid you're wasting your time, Mr. Miller. The man is a petty criminal. Started out as a wrestler in Ankara. Now he does a little bit with the girls, you know. It's for the tourists.
Of course.
Here we are. Now, Akbar the Turk went to prison for pushing forged lottery tickets, ran a waterfront gang, organized a strong-arm outfit in Ismailia. As you see, we have a very thorough record of his activities. It does not include diamond smuggling.
Your records may be incomplete, Major.
Well, it's not impossible. Why? You have additional information?
Well, according to my instructions, he's an IDB contact man. With the correct approach, he might be able to put me in touch with the right people.
Mr. Stone?
Maybe.
May I ask the source of your information?
Yes, a crooked diamond buyer called Rosinski in London. He talked.
Couldn't be lying, of course.
He could be, but I sincerely hope not. I'm here as his representative.
Are you? Well, in that case, I suggest you call in at Dibaz. Akbar works there. I'll give you the address.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, did I hear you mention Mr. Spencer Deeds before?
Before you came in the room, yes. What thin walls these offices have. Why, do you know him?
Slightly. I was at his funeral.
Well, thank you, Major. Come on, Sally.
Oh, by the way, Miss Lomax, I wouldn't go to Dibaz if I were you.
Why not?
It's a Turkish bath for gentlemen.
I'm looking for Akbar the wrestler.
Did I know him?
They say he's as strong as a lion and as cunning as a serpent.
Such a man is rare.
They also say he has friends in high places.
Such a man is fortunate.
Fortunate is the man who knows his friends from his enemies.
Fortunate and wise. But wherein is such knowledge written?
Well?
Alas, I'm a foolish man. And poor.
Then show me a man who is wise.
Who do you wish to see, Mr. Peters?
Mr. Stone.
Stone? I know nothing of Mr. Stone.
I was told he was a friend.
I have no friends. I've already said I'm a foolish man.
And poor. All right. That's as wise as you're going to get, okay?
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
Now, listen, I've come a long way.
Relax, Mr. Peters. Nothing will be done for 24 hours at least.
Why not?
I told you I have no friends. And if I had, they would be in Athens. And they wouldn't be back till tomorrow. You understand?
I understand.
A message will be sent to Stewart's hotel.
Well, you know where I'm staying.
I also know you brought a woman with you.
You've been checking up on me?
Foolish I am, Mr. Peters. But I have my uses.
Now, wait a minute.
Lie down, Mr. Peters. You paid for this. You might as well have your money's worth.
Drink?
No thanks.
I know, it's too early.
24 hours to kill. Or to worry about the late Spencer Deeds.
Why not?
I've been doing some homework. According to the obituaries, he was quite a man.
He was.
Here we are. The Honourable Spencer Deeds, brother to the Earl of Liskeard, sportsman, traveller, occasional diplomat, owner of racing stables, steward of the Jockey Club. He was patron of the Ring, founder of the Deed Shield for amateur boxers, friend of the rich, the influential, and the royal. He's a widower, leaves one daughter, Caroline, engaged to John Lester, a junior minister in the government.
Very impressive. Anything else?
Yes, there is. He died last Saturday at a rented villa 10 miles out of Cairo. Funeral attended by 7 ambassadors and representatives of heads of state, royal families, etc., etc.
Sounds final, doesn't it?
He died, Tony. It's in black and white.
And that's proof positive.
Oh, but not for you. There's a photograph of him there. He's nothing like the man we saw.
I know. Till he got up and walked away.
Okay, so a man in a hotel reminds you of the late Spencer Dees, somebody you met once, 10 years ago. So what do you want to do?
What I have to do, ask a few questions.
You're crazy, Tony, out of your mind.
I knew you'd understand.
Well, what about Akbar? What happens if he calls?
Well, take a message and contact me. I'll let you know where I am.
Starting where?
The British Embassy. An old boy called Crichton.
Crichton? Who's he?
A chap with a security force.
Facts are all here. What else can I tell you? He was, I suppose, what you might call an anachronism. You see, he was born too late to be a true Edwardian, and yet he was in the tradition of the great Edwardian sportsmen. The late Lord Lonsdale, for instance, the founder of the Lonsdale belts, you know, or the late Lord Derby, who waited so long to win his family race. There, now, is that the kind of thing you want to hear?
That's very useful, thank you.
What paper did you say you represent?
I didn't, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
I'm a freelance. I'm trying to work up a feature article. I knew Mr. Deeds slightly. How well did you know, Mr. Crichton?
Oh, well, we knew each other as boys, though, of course, our lives moved in very different circles, but we met from time to time.
When he came to Egypt, it was about 4 weeks ago, wasn't it? Did you ever visit him?
Oh, yes, once. The ambassador and I drove out to see him the day after he moved into his villa.
How did he look?
Look.
Well, was there anything strange about him?
Strange? No, there was nothing strange about him. He looked exactly the same as he'd always looked. I'm afraid I don't quite follow you, young man.
When he died, were you surprised?
Shocked, distressed. Yes, I suppose you might say surprised.
I suppose he'd been ill for a long time, yet nobody knew.
Ah, that was typical of the man. You see, he could face the inevitable himself, but he would never distress his friends or his family until it was absolutely necessary.
I see. Who signed the death certificate?
What a curious question. Dr. Malik, of course.
An Egyptian?
Well, this is Egypt. Dr. Malik was attending him.
Do you know anything about this doctor?
No, Dr. Malik. Everyone in Cairo knows Dr. Malik. He's a man of the highest reputation, both socially and professionally. I can assure you, sir, there was no question of neglect. Mr. Deeds was receiving the best possible medical attention. And now, Mr. Peters, if there's nothing else...
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Peter's woman?
I'm his secretary.
Where is he?
Out.
Tell him the man he wanted to see is back. His visiting card.
Thanks. I'll tell him. Could you get me the telephone number of Dr. Malik, please?
I have never yet known a newspaper photograph which conveyed an accurate likeness, but of course this is Mr. Deeds.
Dr. Malik, did you know him personally?
Not before his last illness. Then I attended him 3 or 4 times a week at his villa. Not that there was anything I could do except to prescribe pain-killing drugs.
Who administered the drugs?
He brought his own nurse with him from South Africa.
Is that where he came from?
Cape Town.
Did he bring a letter of introduction from a doctor there?
Naturally. A complete medical history. I can assure you that your friend's death, however distressing, was perfectly natural and quite inevitable. Excuse me. Yes? Yes, he's still here. For you, Mr. Peters.
Oh, thank you. Hello?
Zervas, lawyer.
He's a Greek, got a big international practice with a lot of top names. Travels a great deal between Cape Town and the Middle East.
You've been busy.
Not me, Major Mahmoud. All I did was make an appointment with Zervas. He's expecting you.
When?
Anytime.
That still gives me a couple of hours.
What for? Oh, no, just a minute. You're not going on with this.
I've got to, Sally. I'm onto something. This whole Deeds business is fishy, I'm sure of it.
You can't tell. You've already risked your cover.
With chaplains and eminent surgeons.
With anyone.
I'm going to see that nurse.
Now, look, leave it alone.
Are you telling me what to do?
Well, somebody has to. Oh, all right, you're the boss, and you please act like it. You had a hunch. It misfired. Now, forget it.
I can't.
You certainly won't when it lands you back on the beat.
I told you no one followed me.
Fine. Now, buy me another Zabib and do your homework for Zervas.
Waiter, give me a taxi, will you?
Tony, no.
Stick around for messages.
Should I know where you're going, Inspector?
The Deeds Villa. I should be back in a couple of hours, maybe less.
Ring the valet, will you, and tell him to pack my bags and let me have my bill. I shall be leaving.
Mrs. Mason will be with you in a minute, sir. Mrs. Mason being with us? Yes, sir. What's your name?
Raman, sir.
How long have you been here, Raman?
Like the rest of the staff, I was hired when Mr. Deeds rented the house.
Who from?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Who did he rent it from? Who's the owner?
I don't know, sir.
Then who hired you?
The lawyer who arranged everything, sir.
What's his name?
I don't know whether I should tell you that, sir.
Why not? Is it a secret?
Strange question, sir. Of course not, sir. It is Mr. Kuyumgian, sir.
Mr. Peters? I'm Mrs. Mason. You want to speak to me?
Please.
You told Raman you were a friend of Mr. Deeds.
I knew him. His death was a great shock to me. How long had he been ill, Mrs. Mason?
Nearly 2 years.
And he never told anyone. What a man. Or did he tell someone?
I don't know.
Apart from the doctor. And you, of course.
Of course.
Well, then you were with him all the time.
Yes, I was.
I remember last year in Paris, the World Heavyweight title fight. Deeds had to leave at the end of the 3rd round. Everyone put it down to his intake of cognac, but I suppose he must have been pretty ill even then.
Yes. Yes, he was.
Oh, you remember the occasion?
Yes.
There was no World Heavyweight title fight in Paris last year.
What do you mean? Who are you?
There's something going on here, isn't there?
No, that's not what you're talking about.
Then why did you lie?
I didn't. I don't know anything. Leave me alone.
Tell me the truth.
I can't tell you anything.
Perhaps I can. Who is it, Mrs. Mason?
This is Mr. Peters. He knew your father.
Your father? You're Caroline Deeds?
I am. All right, Mrs. Mason, thank you. And now, Mr. Peters, perhaps you'll explain what you're doing here.
I'm sorry to intrude, Miss Deeds. I had no idea you were in Egypt.
Isn't it natural? What are you saying to Mrs. Mason?
Well, I'm afraid I might have made a bit of a fool of myself.
I don't understand.
Miss Deeds, I don't want to distress you, but 2 days ago in Stewart's hotel, I thought I saw your father. I know it sounds incredible.
I think you'd better go.
Please believe me, I'm not a maniac. I could swear I recognized him. Now, is there any possibility I could be right?
My father died last week.
You're sure?
Sure. He sent for me. I was with him when he died.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Luncheon is served, madam.
Thank you, Raman. I shall be leaving the car when we get the after lunch. Raman, who was that man?
I don't know, Miss Deeds.
Well, you haven't said I told you so.
There's no need to, as long as you're finally cured.
Finally, with no chance of a relapse. The only thing that hurts is having to admit that even my memory's fallible.
Well, don't let it fail you with Zervas.
Don't worry, it won't. Well, I should think even a lawyer should have finished his lunch by now. Thanks.
Thank you.
You may leave everything to me, Miss Deeds. I will have your baggage packed and sent to the airport. There's a jet flight to London tonight. In the meantime, I am sure they will make you comfortable in the VIP lounge.
Suppose it's best. You'll tell him?
Of course. Goodbye, Miss Deeds.
Goodbye, Mr. Zervas.
And bon voyage.
Thank you.
All right, so you saw Caroline Deeds with Zervas. What does that prove?
My hunch was right.
You honestly think a man like Deeds is involved with IDB?
I think what I always thought, that Deeds is alive and probably in danger.
From Zervas?
From Zervas, from Stone, I don't know. Look, Sally, maybe he's being blackmailed. Maybe Zervas wants control of his estates. Maybe Caroline Deeds is in it up to the neck. I don't know. I can only guess.
What are you going to do? Ask Mahmoud for an exhumation order?
No, there are no grounds. We need some facts.
Such as what?
The name of the man who really died.
You're wrong, Tony. It was Deeds that died. The Zervas thing was a coincidence.
Do you really believe that, Sally?
Mahmoud said that Zervas had a top clientele. Why shouldn't Spencer Deeds be one of them?
I asked you a question.
Okay. Say you're right. You always have been right. What do we do now?
Get hold of Mrs. Mason.
The nurse?
She's scared stiff and a bad liar. I want you to get her on her own.
Me? Well, what are you going to do?
And I'm already late for my appointment.
Oh, now, hold it, Tony. You're not going to see Zervas.
Why not?
With your cover blown?
You don't know that.
For Pete's sake, Tony, if you're right and Caroline Deeds is involved, she must have told Zervas that you've been asking questions.
But that doesn't make me a copper. Anyone could have recognized Deeds.
Is that how you're going to play it?
Well, it's the only way I can play it, by ear.
I hope to goodness you know what you're doing.
Oh, don't worry. Zervas isn't my problem. It's Deeds himself.
What do you mean?
Well, I only hope he doesn't remember where he met me.
Peters. No, the name means nothing to me, but I'm sure I've seen him before somewhere.
In the diamond business?
Oh, for heaven's sake, Zervas, I don't ask everybody their profession.
Pity you don't.
What did he say to Caroline?
Just that he had seen you in the hotel.
Nothing else?
No. She told him she was with you when you died.
And he accepted it?
What else could he do except call her a liar?
I wish we hadn't involved her.
It looked better and it paid off. She will be in England tonight.
I hope so. If anything should happen to her.
You know, Mr. Deeds, life would be much easier for you if you could relax, not worry so much. Please sign this check before you go.
Want another one?
Don't you trust me?
Anything else?
Nothing. Unless you wish to say goodbye to Mrs. Mason. I'm sending her back to Cape Town tomorrow.
I won't be sorry to see her go.
You'll be at Barani's if I want you?
Yes.
And don't worry about Peters. I will be checking on him and the girl.
Oh, is that Mr. Deeds, brother? Oh, could I speak to Mrs. Mason, please?
Who is speaking, please?
Oh, she wouldn't know me. I wanted to speak to her about a job. I understand she's a trained nurse.
May I ask you who recommended her?
Well, if you must know, it was Dr. Malik.
I am sorry Mrs. Mason has left.
Oh, is it ramen? Is it for me?
Hello?
Were you expecting a call?
No. But I thought I heard you say my name.
Can you hear me?
It is only Mr. Service making arrangements for your journey tomorrow.
Hello.
Hello? I am sorry I was disturbed by one of the servants. I'm afraid it would be impossible to speak to Mrs. Mason. She has already left the country.
I see. Thank you very much.
Mr. Service, please. Well, will you tell him to ring Raman as soon as possible?
Ah, the charming Miss Lomax. Everything is satisfactory at first.
I was just writing you a note. Mr. Miller has gone to see Zervas.
I know.
You're not having him tailed, are you?
Miss Lomax, I was particularly asked not to have him followed so as not to jeopardize his cover. I disagree with his policy, but I gave an undertaking.
Then who told you?
Nobody told me. I'm a policeman. I mean, you asked me for details about Zervas. Well, I assume it's more than just a casual inquiry. My goodness. I mean, even an Egyptian policeman can make a deduction sometimes, and occasionally even a correct one.
I'm sorry.
Well, there's no need to apologize. Please, can I offer some coffee?
Oh, no, thank you. I have to go out. It's rather urgent. Some private business. Can I get a taxi from near here?
I'll ring for one. Myself.
Thank you.
Coffee?
Thank you.
I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Peters. No sugar, Turkish coffee, very sweet. I have a terrible rush of work just now, dealing with the affairs of the late Mr. Spencer Deeds. You find it strange that such a man should put his affairs in the hands of a Greek lawyer? He had no choice. Like so many people, he would not face the possibility of death until it was too late. He was in Cairo. Someone mentioned my name. He sent for me. Delightful man, delightful. Did you know him by any chance?
I met him once, about 10 years ago.
You haven't seen him since?
Well, I don't mind telling you now. I thought I saw him in Stewart's Hotel 2 days ago.
2 days?
Well, of course, he changed his appearance, but there was something about the way the man walked. I even made a few inquiries, but I was wasting my time. His daughter was actually with him when he died.
Yes, she was. Charming girl, charming. So upset by the death of her father. But tell me, Mr. Peters, why were you so interested? Turkish on the right, Egyptian on the left.
Oh, thank you.
What if you had been right?
If he'd wanted the world to think that he was dead, he must have had a good reason. I'd have followed it up. There might have been something in it for me.
I see you're an opportunist.
A businessman. And, talking of business, when do I see him?
Him?
Stone?
My client, Mr. Stone, is always anxious to make new business contacts, provided he is satisfied with their references.
You have my credentials?
Yes, they appear to be in order, but you will understand one cannot be too careful.
Now, look, Zervas, I have a considerable sum of money in sterling and in dollars. I'm here to do business. What else do you want?
I'm a cautious man. Mr. Peters, a lawyer.
Don't you think you're overdoing it a little?
How long have you been in your present occupation?
It's in my papers, 2 years.
Then by now you should have learned two things. One is that IDB is a large-scale international operation involving perhaps 120 million pounds sterling a year.
And the other?
The other is that we take good care of our senior men. You take my point.
All right. What do you want to do?
I trust you have no objection if I make a telephone call to London.
Call anyone you like. And you'll let me know when I can see Stone?
If, Mr. Peters, if. أطلب مقلمة تليفونية إلى لندن خاطن قادن 5423. I hope you do not find me too inhospitable. If we continue our association, perhaps you will give me the pleasure of entertaining you. Our nightlife can be quite spectacular, if you know where to go.
I'm looking forward to it. Goodbye.
Good day.
Thank you.
بمزاج لم نقتني زوج بكابله. Raban.
Was murdered.
You're sure?
Oh, it was made to look like an accident. The banisters were broken as though she'd fallen, but there was a fresh blood stain on the landing.
You're sure no one followed you to that villa?
Quite sure. It seemed to be empty. I got out as quickly as I could and got the local police to handle it.
Caroline had left?
Yes, Mahmoud is trying to intercept her at the airport.
And you're positive there's nothing to connect us with the affair?
Positive.
Right. Well, you wait here in case Zervas calls.
Yes, but...
Now, do as I say, Sally. There's not a moment to lose. If anything happens, contact me immediately.
Right. Where?
The airport.
Horrible. Horrible. First my father, and now poor Mrs. Mason.
Very tragic case.
How did it happen?
We are investigating.
Investigating? It was an accident, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was murder. Cold-blooded and deliberate.
Mr. Peters.
No misdeeds. The name's Miller of Scotland Yard.
I don't understand.
Then I'll come straight to the point. Mrs. Mason was killed to stop her from talking.
Talking?
To me.
What about?
Your father. And why he faked his own death.
No, that's not true.
Don't lie, Miss Deeds. There's no time.
I'm not lying. My father is dead.
He is not. But unless you cooperate with us, he very soon will be.
What do you mean?
A woman has already been murdered. There's no guarantee that it's going to stop there. Your father could be next.
All right. He is alive. But he's a frightened man. You must help him.
It's a pity you couldn't have told us about this sooner.
I think you better come down to the station with us.
If she leaves here, I want to know where she goes.
Right. You still want to help your father? Then there's only one way you can do it now. Tell the truth. We know he's alive, and directly or indirectly, he is involved with the murder of the South African nurse.
She wasn't a nurse, really.
Yes?
It was Mr. Mason, her husband, who died.
I see. The man who looked exactly like your father?
No, how could he? Cut his hair the same way, tinted it, made him grow a moustache, I don't know what else, but he was really dying. He looked enough like my father to deceive anyone who didn't know him.
Like Dr. Malik, for instance?
Yes.
What about the chaplain? They were boyhood friends?
My father let him come out to the villa once, but never again. He never saw Mr. Mason, alive or dead.
That tells us how. Now, why?
He had no alternative.
Blackmail?
Yes.
I see. You can't put the squeeze on a dead man, is that it? Well, what did they have on him? Well, come along, Miss Deeds.
My father's not a criminal, Mr. Miller.
He has falsified a death certificate.
He was thinking of me, of the family name. This man threatened to cause a scandal, to drag the Deeds' names through the dirt. Now, all my father cares about is me and the family. He offered this man everything he had, but it wasn't enough. He was at his wit's end.
You don't know the name of the blackmailer, Mr. Deeds?
Name?
Your father never told you?
No, all I know about him is a crooked, unscrupulous. He drove my father mad.
Was it Zervas?
No, someone else. Someone in London. He never left my father alone, never gave him a moment's peace.
You heard no names mentioned, ever?
I did hear a name once. I think it was Stone.
Stone?
You know him?
Nope, but I soon will. Zervas has arranged for me to meet him.
You've no idea where you're going to meet Mr. Stone, of course.
All I know is I'm to meet Zervas outside the Carzel Nil barracks.
I'll get our men out there right away.
Hold it. We daren't take the risk. Zervas is no fool. If I'm shadowed, he'll spot it at once.
Single-handed, the fearless British agent.
I think I'll be all right.
Quite frankly, Mr. Miller, I'm not worried about you. I don't want to lose Stone.
You won't. As soon as I've met him and got what information I can, I'll hand him over to you. Meanwhile, this is still a British operation.
With Egyptian cooperation?
Yes, Major. And that means no shadow.
All right. We do a little deal, huh?
What deal?
For my part, no shadow. For yours, please accept this small gift with my compliments.
A radio.
You switch it on, it starts transmitting a signal, automatically.
A Homer, eh? That's very ingenious.
British invention. Already have the receiving set standing by. With this in your pocket, we know where you are at all times.
Okay, Major, it's a deal. I'll see you later.
Jolly good luck.
Ah,
anyone for tennis?
In the days when Egypt had more British than it has flies, this was a prosperous sports club. I acquired the property a few years ago. One day I may develop the site, but in the meantime it has its uses. Excuse me.
Yes, of course. Well, hello, Akbar.
You don't object to the usual formality?
Oh, why, of course not. Not as pleasant as last time, Akbar. All right? Ah, the conference room.
For special occasions.
Where's Stone?
He'll be here directly.
Where are you going?
I have some business to attend to. All right, you know what to do. Here are the keys of my car.
I think he has something.
Hmm?
Well, he started transmitting, 2 and 3 picked it up, and 2 lost it. It's very faint. There's either a loss of power or else the set is screened in some way.
Well, haven't you got a fix yet?
No, sir. Number 3's got a position line, but we have no cross-bearing. Just a minute. Here's a report from 2. He's lost the signal again. It's gone dead.
Damn. I should have had him followed. But tell him to keep listening, eh?
British operation.
How do you do, Mr. Peters? I'm glad to make your acquaintance.
Deeds?
Spencer Deeds is dead, Mr. Peters.
My name is Stone. You're Stone?
That's right. In private life, Morton. In business, Stone. Now, shall we get down to business? Please be seated. Does the presence of my servant worry you, Mr. Peters?
Shouldn't it?
His name is Bainey. He's dumb.
But not blind.
I trust him.
Can I?
You'll have to, won't you?
I suppose so, Deeds.
Stone, Mr. Peters.
I'm sorry. My mistake. Can you guarantee delivery in London and New York?
We can deliver anywhere for the right price.
Seems a pity that Spencer Deeds had to die.
Is it?
A great international sportsman. Running these things through customs should have been a piece of cake.
You know, you have an unfortunate approach for an ITV man.
Well, it's not normal. In this case, I'm just a bit curious.
Curiosity has killed more than the cat, Mr. Peters. I'm sure you understand.
You mean, you do your job and I do mine?
Precisely.
Very well, Stone. I will.
Max?
Yes?
I'm a police officer.
Oh, what news?
I must ask you to come with me to the station.
Oh, what for?
We would like a statement about the accident in Mr.
But
Deeds'
I've
villa.
already made a statement.
I am sorry, I have my orders. If necessary, I shall have to take you.
Look, I can't come now. Will you kindly contact Major Mahmoud at police headquarters?
You will have the opportunity to telephone anyone you like from the police station. Your embassy, a solicitor, anyone.
All right.
Straight line running right through the city, and it could be anywhere on it. Check with number 2 station again. Haven't they got any indication of a cross bearing?
There's an all stations report coming in. He started transmitting again, loud and clear.
Good. Give me the bearings.
That'll do. I'll take the lot. At the right price.
You know the price.
I should have thought under the circumstances you could have been more reasonable.
Are you trying to blackmail me, Mr. Peters?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. Let's say I like to exploit favorable circumstances.
I see. And what do you imagine your exploitation is worth?
Shall we say £10,000?
Isn't that rather ambitious, Mr. Peters?
Deeds was a well-known name, Stone. A great sporting figure. I think £10,000 is cheap.
You're quite a swine, aren't you?
An operator. Anyway, I'm not the first one to put the squeeze on you, am I?
What do you mean by that?
You should have been expecting it.
I was. Now, perhaps you'll remind me where I've seen you before.
Don't tell me you don't remember.
I asked you a question, Mr. Peters.
I'm sorry I made so little impression on you.
I don't want to threaten, Mr. Peters. I hate violence.
So do I. Let's stick to business, shall we?
Weatherden Park, 10 years ago, the police sports.
You were the guest of honor, and I won the judo competition.
Yes, you're an ex-policeman.
Not ex, current and active.
Sally.
Sorry, Tony. I thought we were the oldest trick in the book.
Well, what's she doing here?
I think we'd better have a talk.
All right, Sally, don't worry.
Over there.
Hello, Akbar. Bath's closed for the night.
You talk too much, Mr. Peters.
Oh, yes. Wise is he who holdeth his counsel. Look, all that stuff about being as strong as a lion's a bit exaggerated, isn't it?
You want to try, Mr. Peters?
Well, under the circumstances, no.
I suspected something when the girl went to the villa. When I found the transistor in his pocket, I knew I was right.
Very well. We'll pack up here, take the boat upriver, and catch a plane for Nairobi.
Now, just a
there's
moment.
no time to argue.
What about them?
Well, we'll lock them up. We can send someone to release them tomorrow. How long was the transistor on?
Only a few seconds. Don't worry. If they had a fix on us, they would have been here by now.
You switched it off, of course.
No, it's still transmitting, but not from here.
Are you sure these bearings are correct?
Positive. We are getting a full-strength signal. There is no mistake.
Well, I hope there is.
What do you mean, sir?
I double-checked your references, and I locate the set just here.
But that's the British Embassy.
Exactly.
You had better go and help Zervis with the boat.
What's the plan? 2 bodies at the bottom of the Nile.
Not a bad idea.
You can't get away with this, Deeds. You know that.
Can't I?
You'll be picked up before you've gone a dozen miles.
Wouldn't care to bet on that, would you?
Oh, yes. I'd forgotten. You're the great Spencer Deeds, the famous gambler.
Here it is, sir.
Was that the British Embassy?
Yes, sir. On the steps outside.
Somebody seems to have a sense of humor.
What do we do now, Major?
Well, it's simple. You make the Mr. Somebody laugh on the other side of his face. Give me the legal department. Property transfer.
Was it worth it, Deeds? Was it?
What worth it?
Trading your name and reputation for this.
Is that what you were told, Mr. Peters?
The name's Miller of Scotland Yard.
Oh, very impressive. I'm quite sure you know the whole story.
I know more than you think.
Do you?
You got into trouble. Perhaps a gambling debt you couldn't meet.
Go on.
Someone told you how you could pick up some easy money running stones. It appealed to your gambling instinct.
Did it?
Unfortunately, the gamble didn't come off. Once in, you couldn't get off the hook. You became a full-time IDB courier.
Anything more?
Finally, when I asked you to take over the Cairo office, you agreed on one condition.
And that was?
Deeds was to die, and Mr. Stone, alias Morton, was born.
Oh, congratulations. A very interesting hypothesis. A little fantastic, I'm afraid, but it shows commendable imagination.
Not imagination, Deeds. Information from a reliable source.
What source?
Your daughter.
You're lying.
This is one bet you're not going to win, Deeds.
You're lying. Caroline is in England.
She's being held in connection with a murder.
What murder?
You mean you don't know?
What are you talking about?
Ask your lawyer about Mrs. Mason.
All right, we're ready. Get them outside.
Oh, just a minute. What's this about Mrs. Mason?
What about her?
Well, where is she?
She's dead. She had an accident.
You didn't tell me.
Wasn't important.
Why didn't you tell me?
Now, look, Stone, we have no time for this.
Why didn't you tell me?
Now, listen. This Mrs. Mason business is over and done with.
You had her murdered.
We are not playing this according to Marquis of Queensberry rules. You knew what you were letting yourself in for when you made
Murder
this
wasn't
deal.
part of it.
She would have talked under the slightest pressure. It was your name I was protecting. Your
Murder wasn't
reputation.
part of it.
Have it your way. I can't afford the luxury of your upper-class scruples. Get them outside.
No, I'm giving orders here.
You were.
Now, don't be a fool. Give me that gun.
Don't press me too far, Deeds. I take no risk in shooting you. Remember, you have already died once.
Give me that.
All right. All right, I'll have that. All right, take him away.
You're late, Major. What happened to the radio?
Ah, you take it from me. You never trust these newfangled British inventions. I decided to do things the hard way. I checked with the comical Mr. Zervas's property deals, and this club seemed the most likely spot. Out. Do we need a doctor?
No. I'm afraid he's dead.
Deeds? No. There's a diamond smuggler called Stone who didn't know when to stop.
Good afternoon, Miss Deeds. I've just been with Sir Andrew Wilson at the Foreign Office.
Yes?
He was at Oxford with your father, by the way.
I know.
It seems the Egyptian government are no more anxious to broadcast this story than we are. Relations between us are improving all the time, but they're still a bit precarious. If their extremists found out that an Englishman of Spencer Deed's eminence had been organizing large-scale crime on Egyptian territory, they could make it very embarrassing for everybody.
So?
The man who was shot in Cairo was a diamond runner who called himself Stone or Morton. Your father died and was buried 10 days earlier.
Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. You've all been very kind.
We're here to do what we're told, Miss Deeds. The decision about your father was taken at a much higher level.
Yes, I know, but all the same, thank you. Goodbye, Mr. Stark.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Miller.
Miller? You heard what I said to that girl?
Yes, sir.
We are here to do what we are told.
Yes, sir.
Just sit down, Miller. So let us now consider the case of the smart operator who blew his cover by following a crazy hunch. Shall we do that, Miller?